Have you ever wondered how the world's most prosperous nation could suddenly plunge into a decade-long economic nightmare? Let's rewind to the Roaring '20s, an era of great economic growth and widespread prosperity in the United States. The country was enjoying a post-war economic boom, and the stock market was soaring to new heights. The average American was living better than ever before, with new consumer goods, such as cars and radios, becoming increasingly accessible. This period was marked by a sense of invincibility and optimism. The belief was that anyone could get rich quick in the stock market, leading to rampant speculation. However, beneath this veneer of prosperity, the economy was a ticking time bomb, riddled with structural weaknesses and extreme economic disparities. The agricultural sector, for instance, was not part of this prosperity. Farmers struggled with overproduction, falling prices, and mounting debt. The banking system was another weak link, with many small banks taking excessive risks and having limited protection against loan defaults. Moreover, the prosperity was not evenly distributed. While the wealthy got wealthier, the vast majority of Americans saw little improvement in their living standards. This income inequality created an unstable economic environment, as the economy was largely dependent on the spending of a small, affluent fraction of the population. Then came the defining event, the stock market crash of 1929. This was not just a sudden collapse, it was the result of several underlying factors, including rampant speculation, weak banking systems, and economic inequality. The crash didn't cause the Great Depression, but it was the spark that ignited the economic disaster. In the aftermath, the optimistic bubble of the Roaring '20s burst, leaving behind a trail of bankruptcies, bank failures, and unemployment. The economy spiraled into the Great Depression, a decade-long period of extreme economic hardship. Yet the prosperity of the 1920s was a facade, hiding the economic vulnerabilities that would soon lead to the greatest economic crisis in American history. October 24, 1929, a day that would go down in infamy as Black Thursday, marked the beginning of the end for the Roaring '20s. With that ominous day, the world was plunged into a financial nightmare as the United States stock market began its catastrophic freefall. The New York Stock Exchange, the heart of American finance, was filled with panic and confusion as stock prices began to tumble with no end in sight. The day had started off like any other, but by the afternoon the trading floor was in chaos. Investors were frantically selling off their stocks, hoping to salvage whatever they could from the impending disaster. The ticker tape, struggling to keep up with the flood of transactions, ran hours behind. At the closing bell, a record 13 million shares had changed hands, and the market had lost 11% of its value. But this was just the beginning. Over the next few days, the market continued to plummet, with Black Monday and Black Tuesday seeing even more devastating losses. The stock market crash of 1929 didn't happen in a vacuum. It was the result of a perfect storm of factors: an overvalued market, risky investment practices, and widespread speculation. A bubble had formed in the market, and on Black Thursday that bubble burst. The impact was immediate and severe. Banks and investors who had heavily invested in the stock market found themselves facing significant losses. Many banks had to close their doors, unable to recover from the financial blow. The ripple effect spread throughout the economy, affecting businesses and individuals alike. In a matter of days, the optimistic spirit of the Roaring '20s was replaced with the harsh reality of financial ruin. The once celebrated era of prosperity was over, and the Great Depression was about to begin. In just a few days, fortunes were lost, and the once bustling stock market was reduced to a ghost of its former self. The stock market crash was just the start of the economic nightmare that was the Great Depression. Indeed, the fallout from this financial catastrophe was far-reaching and profound, with two phenomena being particularly devastating: widespread unemployment and bank failures. As the economy crumbled, businesses across the nation were hit hard. Unable to keep up with plummeting demand and the tightening of credit, companies big and small began to shutter their doors. The result: a staggering unemployment rate. By 1933, 1 in 4 employable Americans found themselves out of work. That's an estimated 15 million people without a steady income, struggling to put food on the table and facing an uncertain future. This mass unemployment wasn't just a symptom of the economic downturn. It also further fueled the crisis. With fewer people earning wages, consumer spending dropped dramatically, sending the economy into a vicious cycle of contraction and job loss. But the problems didn't end there. Concurrently, America was witnessing an unprecedented wave of bank failures. Over 9,000 banks either closed their doors or suspended operations between 1929 and 1933. This was a disaster for many reasons, but one stood out. At the time, there was no federal insurance on bank deposits. So when a bank failed, people lost their savings. This led to a crisis of confidence. Terrified of losing their money, people rushed to withdraw their savings, causing what we now call a bank run. These bank runs only exacerbated the problem, causing stable banks to collapse under the sudden demand for cash. The combined effect of mass unemployment and bank failures was catastrophic. It wasn't just about losing jobs or money, it was about losing faith in the American dream. The Great Depression stripped away the veneer of prosperity and laid bare a nation in crisis. As the decade wore on, the land of opportunity seemed more like a land of despair. In the face of such adversity, the American people and their leaders were forced to come up with new ways to fight the economic crisis. As the Great Depression deepened, the government found itself in uncharted waters. The traditional laissez-faire approach was clearly not working. The time had come for a new strategy, one that would lead to what we now know as the New Deal. The New Deal, introduced by President Franklin Roosevelt in 1933, was a series of government programs, public work projects, financial reforms, and regulations. This was a drastic break from the past. For the first time, the federal government took on a role in the economic affairs of the nation. These programs were aimed at providing relief for the unemployed, reforming the financial system to prevent a repeat of the crash, and reviving the economy through government stimulus. One of the key pillars of the New Deal was the creation of jobs. Projects like the Civilian Conservation Corps and the Works Progress Administration put millions of Americans back to work, building infrastructure, planting trees, and creating art. This not only provided a lifeline to struggling families, but also left a lasting legacy in the form of roads, parks, and buildings that we still use today. Equally important was the reform of the financial system. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation was established, providing insurance on bank deposits to restore public confidence in the banks. The Securities and Exchange Commission was created to regulate the stock market and prevent abusive practices. However, recovery did not come easy. The New Deal faced political opposition, legal challenges, and even a second economic downturn in the late 30s. But despite these challenges, the measures taken during the Great Depression laid the groundwork for a modern, more stable economy. Although the road to recovery was long and fraught with challenges, the nation eventually emerged from the Great Depression forever changed. The lessons learned, the institutions created, and the policies implemented during this time continue to shape our economic landscape today. Indeed, in the midst of crisis, America found the strength to innovate and adapt, laying the foundation for a new economic era. The Great Depression was a period of great hardship, but it also provided valuable lessons. This era of history, cloaked in economic despair, teaches us the importance of financial regulation and the dangers of unchecked market speculation. It serves as a stark reminder that the economy is a delicate structure, not immune to collapse. The stock market crash of 1929 was a glaring example of what can happen when speculative bubbles burst and panic ensues. It showed us the domino effect that can occur when confidence in the economy is shattered. In the wake of these events, we saw the strength of the human spirit and the power of strategic response and recovery. The introduction of New Deal policies demonstrated that proactive measures can help mend a broken economy and restore public faith. As we look back on this pivotal moment in history, we are reminded of the resilience of the human spirit and the importance of economic stability.